This is Tom Fox. I'm the Compliance Evangelist, and welcome to 1 month to Operationalizing Your Compliance Program. This month, I am proud to have as my sponsor, Oversight Systems. With the recently released Justice Department Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs, it is mandated that you must operationalize your compliance program. Oversight Systems' automated transaction monitoring solution, Insights on Demand for FCPA, provides a centralized transaction monitoring system that automatically identifies risky behavior and facilitates efficient resolution of any issues. The analytics look for behaviors or patterns of FCPA risk across expense reports and card transactions in T&E or invoices and payments in AP, and addresses 3 areas of operationalization of your compliance program. Number 1, it monitors transactions and activities for improper behavior. Number 2, allows you to perform compliance audits around travel and entertainment and procure to pay. And number 3, be able to demonstrate how policy compliance is reinforced throughout your organization. For more information, check out their website, oversightsystems.com. With the February release of the Justice Department's Evaluation of Corporate Compliance Programs, the operationalization of your compliance program is mandatory for you to receive any credit under the Department of Justice pilot program, or even going back as far as the Yates memo. If you listen to this podcast over the next month, you will have a good basis for operationalizing your compliance program. I hope you will enjoy this journey with me. I look forward to answering any questions that you might have. This is Tom Fox. Thank you very much for listening. Day 10, Operationalizing Payroll Controls in a Compliance Program. Under the prong entitled Policies and Procedures, subtext, Operational Integration, the evaluation states, Payment Systems. How was the misconduct in question funded, e.g. purchase orders, employee reimbursements, discounts, petty cash? What processes could have prevented or detected improper access to these funds? And finally, how have those processes been improved? While the basic Watergate maxim has always been appropriate in any investigation, follow the money, the evaluation of corporate compliance programs released by the Department of Justice in February takes payment systems and their internal controls several steps further past the detect and even investigatory precepts. This is not a set of compliance internal controls, but rather internal controls permeating throughout an organization, which creates their effectiveness and indeed their operationalization throughout an organization. Today we examine how effective compliance internal controls and how the payroll function can assist in fulfilling these new requirements to operationalize your compliance program. Well, what are internal controls in an FCPA compliance program? Of course, the starting point is the FCPA itself, which under 13B2B requires that a company have internal controls devised and maintained to provide sufficient assurances that transactions are executed in accordance with management's general specific authorization, transactions are recorded as necessary, access to assets is permitted only in accordance with management's general or specific authorization, and there the recorded accountability for assets is compared with the existing asset at reasonable intervals, and appropriate action is taken with respect to any differences. The DOJ and SEC in the 2012 FCPA guidance said, internal controls over financial reporting are processes used by companies to provide reasonable assurances regarding the reliability of financial reporting and the preparation of financial statements. They include various components, such as a control risk that covers the tone set by the organization regarding integrity and ethics, risk assessments, control activities that covers policy and procedures designed to ensure that management directives are carried out, information and communication and monitoring. Moreover, the design of a company's internal controls must take into account operational realities and risks attendant to the company's business, such as the nature of products and services, how the products and services get to market, the nature of its workforce, the degree of regulation, the extent of government interaction, and the degree to which it has operations in countries of high risk. The FCPA guidance It specifies that internal controls are a critical component of best practices compliance program. This is because the design of an organization's internal controls must take into account the operational realities and risks attendant to the company's business. So how about global payroll internal controls? You should operationalize your payroll controls to move towards a best practices compliance program. There are several specific internal payroll controls which will facilitate a company doing business in compliance with the FCPA, or put another way, will allow you to operationalize your payroll controls to follow the evaluation of corporate compliance programs. These controls help keep an eye on the money trail. As I said, using my Watergate maxim, follow the money, as money to pay a bribe is usually hidden in some corporate expenditure. The 4 general areas of payroll controls should include segregation of duties, number 2, accountability, authorization, and approval, 3, security of assets, and 4, review and reconciliation. To meet these 4 goals, consider using a selection of the following controls for payroll systems, irrespective of how timekeeping information is accumulated or how employees are paid. First, audit. Have either internal or external auditors conduct an annual audit of payroll accuracy. 2, change authorizations. Only allow a change to an employee's marital status, withholding allowances or deductions if that employee has submitted a written request for the company to do so, and that request is viewed and approved by an appropriate level within the company. 3, change tracking log. If you're processing payroll in-house with a computerized payroll module, have a secure change tracking so that if someone is able to get in and change where payroll is made, where payment is made, there will be a written record for audit purposes and indeed investigative purposes. Next, expense trend lines. Look for changes in payroll-related expenses in the financial statements and then investigate if warranted. Here, obviously, this is data that you have available. It's your own data within your organization, and you should utilize this data to try to look at trends to see if there are any changes. Next, issue payment reports to supervisors. Request that supervisors review payroll summaries for correct amounts and unfamiliar names within their business unit. Restrict access to records. You have to prevent unauthorized access to payroll records. And finally, segregation of duties. You should never allow one person to prepare the payroll, authorize it, and then create payments. The role of global payroll in FCPA compliance is not often considered, yet the monies to fund bribes and violations of the FCPA must come from somewhere. Unfortunately, one of the places is out of payroll. All chief compliance officers need to sit down with the head of his or her payroll department to review the internal controls which are in place to see how they facilitate the operationalization of compliance. Remember, these are controls that you already or should already have in place. If any of these controls that I have elicited or elucidated are not in place, you should put those in place simply for your payroll function. And they give you the added benefit of operationalizing your compliance. Even better for the chief compliance officer would be to sit down with the head of global payroll and have the head of global payroll explain the role of that function and how that role can be operationalized within the context of a best practices compliance program. So what are the 3 key takeaways for today? Well, first of all, the evaluation of corporate compliance programs focuses on the prevent prong of payroll, supplementing the prior focus on detection controls only. Number 2, you still need internal controls around payroll to follow the money. The Watergate maxim of follow the money will always be in part of any best practices compliance program. And number 3, go down and have a cup of coffee with the head of payroll, but use that opportunity to take a look at the payroll internal controls, see how that can operationalize compliance within your organization. If it requires an upgrading or updating of your internal controls around payroll, you have the perfect excuse to do so now. It will not be viewed as simply a payroll or a compliance update, but as a joint update to make your company run more efficiently. This is Tom Fox. Thank you very much for listening to day 10 of 1 month to operationalizing your compliance program, and I hope you will join me tomorrow for day 11. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to thank you very much for listening to today's episode of How to Operationalize Your Compliance Program. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at tfox@tfoxlaw.com. If you've listened to this podcast via iTunes, I would greatly appreciate it if you would rate us. It would help in our rankings and help get the word out about how to learn about operationalizing your compliance program in 1 month. This is Tom Fox. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will join me tomorrow.